this part is about the diagnostic report, and we have prepared some presentation, a little bit shorter. Our research program is to understand the educational expectations and experiences of students, lecturers, and technical staff in art and design work in 5 universities. And we conducted research between December 2021 and October 2022, used survey and focus group interview. I try to summarize, I try to summarize these research results, but first I describe our respondent. 388 students took part in this survey. Many participants were from the first year and the second year of study. According to sex, 268 women, 66 men, and 8 non-binary people participated in our research, but almost 50 participants did not indicate their sex. The average age of students was 23. And teachers, 91 teachers took part in this survey. You can see where they work in the graph. And the average teaching experience is over 15 years. Most of the respondents have 20 years of teaching experience. The shortest teaching experience is 1 year, the longest 45 years. And according to sex, 44 women, 36 men took part in our survey, and 7 participants did not indicate their sex. I try to show you these research results, both teacher and students' answers. And first category is effectiveness of education in pandemic times. According to students and teachers, both students and teachers said that hybrid education is the most effective education, taking into account 1.5 years of experience. In-person education is the most effective education for almost 50% of students and almost 40% of teachers. In student groups, most of more than half of students had lower than expectation than in traditional in-person education, and students told the online education can be good idea, but it depends on the course. For example, in the activities requiring group work, in-person education is better, but for lecturers or in individual projects, online education is good practice. According to teachers, or in teacher groups, almost 40% of teachers had a lower expectation for online education than in traditional in-person education. It's these expectations are related to their motivation to learn or teach online. It's interesting, and it is interesting that almost 60% of teachers said that their motivation was at the same level as in the case of traditional in-person education. And but students told us, more than half of students, that their motivation was at the lower level than in the case of in-person education. Advantages and disadvantages of online education. You can see the advantages of online learning according to students. And according to teachers. And my summarize. Both students and teachers indicated that the most important positive characteristics of online education is comfort of studying from home. The second most important advantages of online education were different in different universities in both categories, students and teachers. And for example, in students group, virtual learning environment was the second most important advantages. For example, at Bad Spa University, time efficiency at SWPS, and possibility of performing other activities at the same time at university in Ukraine. And the same in teachers category, the second most important advantages of online education were different in different universities. For example, expanding digital competences, flexibility of contact with students, or virtual learning environment. No indication, wider and more open access to knowledge, family members, friends could take part in the classes. Okay. And both students and teachers added some additional answers, and we categorized these answers, and you can see health and well-being. Students and teachers said that accessibility for mental health for people with disabilities is important advantages of online education, or some students feel more comfortable and online education offers safety for students and maybe for teachers as well. Some technical and organizational aspects of online education can be positive characteristics of this type of education. For example, a recorded session, or no need to travel to and from college. And one of interesting answer is online work as a significant form of designers' work, because many designers at present today, many designers use the online form, and students should learn to find themselves also in this form of work. This is about these advantages of online learning according to students. And according to teachers. And both students and teachers indicated the most important disadvantages of online education is no direct contact with other students and with lecturers. And almost 20% of teachers said the Zoom fatigue resulting from excessive use of the computer and online contacts is one of the most important negative characteristic of online education. Nobody selected poor time management and no control over time. It's very interesting because it was my problem. But okay. and summarize these advantages of online education. These are additional answers, and you can see it in few categories, illustrated by selected quotes from the survey, and we find these categories like technical and organizational aspect of online education. No, all teachers are ready to work remotely, and health and well-being affects on my mental health and my overall attitude towards the course. Cooperation with students. Students are hesitant to share work in progress before they have it to a finished level. This makes it difficult to pinpoint any errors on inefficiencies in their process. Discipline, design, and art need space for making and exhibiting, and meaning of work, feeling like teachers felt like you were talking to yourself, or lack of feedback from students means that you lose the sense of purposefulness of your action. Next category is difficulties of online education. There we have many answers because it was open-ended questions, and as you know, we categorize these answers and create some categories like technical problems, for example, bad internet, poor internet, or no using camera and microphone, collaboration and engagement, lack of live contact weakens cooperation, or students feel isolated. The greatest difficulties experienced with online teamwork projects are related to physical aspects of work and life at the same place, because some students don't have the right space or technology to have online classes. Some live with a lot of people, bigger preparation workload in teacher groups, and so on. And only students add some answers. Added some answers we categorize as health conditions and lifestyles, and social contact, social life problems, loneliness or discomfort, no support. I don't know anyone on my course until second year because nobody wanted to talk online last year. An exemplary, we ask our respondents to describe an exemplary online learning course, and students and teachers gave us some answers, and they indicated the good practice during the online learning course are interactive classes, using digital tools, using VR during classes, hybrid classes, using breakout rooms to create small working teams, and some characteristics of implementation of classes which were important according to our respondents are working teams using various formats during classes. For example, lecture as introduction to class, individual or in groups work and discussion, classes based on collaborative group project, and so on. Next categories is affection of online education on. In case of students, it's affection of lack or limited access to specialist workshop. One third of respondents said the lack or limited access to specialist workshop affect negatively. They could not develop the project correctly, or both positively and negatively, they they could be creative. We ask teachers about how the online education affect on the content of classes, and more than half of respondents told us the online education affected both positively and negatively on the content of classes, and yes. Okay. And digital tools, this is only, I think it's nonsense to read it, but I think it's interesting to show which digital tools were used in online education during classes in our universities. And students and teachers told us which functionalities of digital tools were missed. And it was functionalities of these tools, like calendar, no easy way to save records of the chat, or better coordination across breakout groups, or recording controls. The most important functionalities is digital tools are only virtual. That means we can't touch our project, lack of materiality, being able to look at other people's studio spaces for inspiration, or the very nice quote is, "I don't think any functionality could be developed to allow me to handle and manipulate the objects that the students are making." And other missing functionalities are virtual reality. I think it's more engaging than being in online meeting rooms, or hybrid teaching, lack of workable structures and technological solution for hybrid teaching. Next categories is using immersive technologies in education. Most of students and teachers never used immersive technologies. Only 4% of students and 13% of teachers use these technologies before. But, these 4% students told us about positive and negative, or rather negative, experience with their experience with using immersive technologies. And immersive technologies characterize creativity, excitement, willingness to create. It's a new way and a good way to learn, but they can be boring, shallow, maybe more efficient as well. 14 teachers used the immersive technologies, and this is about tools they used, like augmented reality using headset, Google boxes, some XR solution, Engage VR, and so on. And they told us or described the characteristic of these technologies and how and when they use them. And they use them to communicate with student colleagues, use it for collaborative and self-reflection, and use it for for exhibition as well. For 2 teachers told us their experience with immersive technology is not sufficient, and I'm still waiting to see a VR killer app for teaching. Because VR does very nice online exhibition spaces, but not much else. And they used the demos of the 3D web platforms and found some difficulties to use this technology in teaching practice. We asked them about using new digital tools in post-COVID reality, and only 7 teachers, but yes, only 7 teachers will not use new digital tools in the future or will not use VR. 3 respondents do not know, but they are open to it. And most of our respondents will use digital tools in the future. Our second part of research was a focus group interview with students. And this is characteristics of these respondents. This table is in the research report as well. I show you now. Okay. And focus group interview, we asked these students about the same categories and about the same issues, but focus group interview focus on these problems. And we have a few categories: advantages of online education. This is the same as distance learning allows students to work in their comfort zone, possibility to combine studying with work, recorded lecture, but the most interesting is possibilities of collaboration within different groups of students, random selection in breakout rooms. Disadvantages of online education is isolation, non-involvement, no involvement, no pre-meet with the colleagues, and lack of healthy competition among students, live communication, self-organization, and many distracting factors. This is a nice quotation. When I listen to stories from the previous year of people who had classes with the same lecturer that we had online with, and now they have live classes, I regret so much how they go about it, that sometimes I even joke that I would not pass specifically to experience it. No, it's possible to do. And some challenges of online education. One of the biggest challenges was accessibility to technology, self-discipline and self-control, finding the common ground between what needs to be done, what you aim to achieve, and what your teacher sees in your work, point to contact to reach the result, and physical aspects of our work. And future of online education. I want to be very clear that online learning as is right now 2 out of 10 as I've experienced it, but if there were changes with VR tech and everything that sounds awesome, I'm here for it, that skyrocket. Student from Bad Spa University. And future of online education. Online learning should be more interactive, and hybrid form could be most optimal, but it's impossible to move everything online. In this specialization, at least some classes need to be in person. I guess VR stuff would be a game changer. I think that the idea of bringing VR to online learning is really, really good. It will be inaccessible right now because of how much tech it needs. It's more the fact about how inaccessible VR is at the moment that's holding that back. Online should absolutely be a part of future learning. Hybridization and combining different things give more opportunities. And key findings. Let's summarize a survey and focus group interview. The pandemic time has shown that online education is possible and effective in art and design field as well, but teaching methods should not simply be transferred from in-person education to online education. Need to develop ways of conducting classes and cooperation between students and teachers and between students in online education. Both teacher and students should know how to use digital tools and online platforms. And the art and design education needs specific digital tools to use during classes. Good practices, one-to-one tutorials, using VR during class, using various formats during classes, constant feedback from lecturers and students. For example, written critical feedback to presentation of students. One-to-one tutorials, hybridized teaching, some online, some in person, lectures with element of discussion, work in smaller groups, giving space to learn and develop, and creative warm-up. For example, simple tasks to stimulate with the possibility of connecting and interaction. The most critical problems and difficulties were motivation to work in teacher and students, student engagement, teamwork, feedback and commenting on each other's project, class discussion, building and establishing social relationship, well-being, finding work-life balance, and creativity during online education. Only 2 slides. Yeah. There are many key findings, sorry. Uh, the comfort of studying, working at home, and the accessibility of classes, for example, for disabled people, introverted people, and materials, for example, lectures recorder, were advantages of online education. In-person education and hybrid education were the most effective. We should use the tools and opportunities offered by modern technology in order to make education as accessible as possible. Art and design education are about materiality, contact with the physical model, piece of art, and presentation of project. And the lack or limited access to workshops, studios, materials, technology, and opportunities for experimenting were described as serious difficulties during online education. And research shows also that immersive technologies can be a valuable tool in the future of online education in the field of art and design. And VR and AR provide immersive and interactive experiences to, for example, better visualize and test design and interact with art in a new ways. And last quotation, we are able to see objects with many different perspectives through VR, and also I can change the class environment to be more effective. And that's all.